one last ride, that's what we're going to call this video. I hope you can hear me. There's lots of wind, there's lots of exhaust noise, and I am on a dirty old girl right now. A few of you may recognize this bike as the bike that I learned how to ride on, effectively. It belonged to a buddy of mine, and he kind of, you know, let me use it out in the parking lot to kind of practice. Yeah, I kind of learned on this before I went to take the MSF class, which was a huge help. And I've got to ride this a few other times. I've run out of gas with it. I dumped it over to a gas station. It's been an adventure on this bike, that's for sure. But right now, this is the last ride on this bike. He finally, after not riding it for so long, decided that he just wanted to sell it, which is cool. You know, I'm not really in a position to be able to buy this bike or anything, or else I would have made him an offer on it, you know. But I kind of miss this thing. For those of you that don't know, this is like I believe a 2006 Boulevard S40. And the mirror's messing up. What are you doing, mirror? Stay. You need to stay for me. So I'm just riding out to work right now. We're gonna get it cleaned up real good out at work, and then get it on Craigslist and get it out of here, you know? So it's kind of bittersweet, you know? I kind of miss this thing. What's interesting to me is that I used to be so scared of this bike, like everything about it. But now I'm on a bike with like probably 4 times as much horsepower as this, maybe 5, but probably at least 4 times as much power. It weighs more and everything. So when I get on this, I'm like, wow, this is actually really easy to ride. These bikes are often, you know, beginner bikes, even though they have like a 650 engine. It's a single cylinder. It doesn't really make a lot of horsepower. I think under 30, maybe a little more than 20, somewhere in that range. So they're really easy to ride, popular beginner bike. And they don't really weigh that much too. Like, I believe when I looked at the sub a few years ago, it was like less than 400 pounds, maybe even 350. So it's great, and it sits nice and low, you know. So if you're looking for a beginner bike and you're smaller in stature, this is definitely one for you to consider. I can't remember if the speedometer is accurate on this thing or not, so we're gonna hope for the best. Probably shouldn't be going so fast. It seems to be running really well though. We just had a little fun incident with the battery. The battery was dead. It's, you know, understandable. It sat for a super long time without being run. So, you know, we go get a new battery, plug it in, nothing. Like, nada, zip, well, no lights on, no nothing. As it turns out, this is one of the batteries where you have to like pour in the fluid into it in order for it to actually start, you know, taking a charge and stuff. And we just didn't know that. So that was kind of funny. So we were supposed to do all this yesterday, and yeah, now we're working on it today. Hi. Yeah, I got away from the scooter. There you go. See, scooters and cruisers, man, getting along great. Neutral? Oh yeah, look at you go. Look at you go right in like you know what's up. It's kind of weird to have like regular mirrors, you know, because I got the bar ends on my bike, and it's so weird to have like these big TV screen mirrors. But yeah, it's been a good bike for my buddy. I mean, even though he didn't ride it much, for a period of time, I might have had more miles on it than he did. But you know, there really hasn't been anything that's gone wrong with it. I mean, the battery going dead, I mean, that kind of is what it is. That's no fault of the bike, you know. It's really his fault for not riding the bike more. Be sure to give him a hard time about that in the comments. Bumps, bumps. Pow, pow. I love that. He's kind of got the exhaust wallered out on this thing. Is that the right word? Yeah, so it's loud. And it really sounds like a lawnmower to me. You know, it's funny, having not ridden this thing for a long time, I ride a completely different kind of bike than this, other than I happen to have a Suzuki as well, and like, I don't particularly think the brakes on my bike are that good, but I get on this and I'm like, whoa, these are bad. Look at all these cobwebs. Get out of here, cobwebs. This thing needs a major scrub-a-dubbin. Rubber Ducky style. Used to be a motovlogger called Rubber Ducky Deathmatch. I don't know whatever happened to that guy. Kind of liked him. Oh well. You know, there is just something about riding a cruiser that's just kind of nice. And I know that this is kind of a entry-level cruiser and stuff, and it may be not a real cruiser bike, and it's definitely not a Harley, but to me that really doesn't matter. It's just how the bike makes you feel, and I feel great. I feel great on it. Oh, I'll briefly tell the story of me dumping this bike over at the gas station, because that was an interesting story. I hadn't been riding very long, but I ended up, I don't even remember why, maybe just for fun, you know, took this thing out for my buddy because he wasn't riding much at the time. Go to the gas station, fill it up with gas, put the thing on, or the cap back on, and hop back on the bike, and I fire it up, and I stand the bike up, and I put it in gear, and all of a sudden fuel starts coming out of this cap like it was the gas nozzle itself. It was coming out so much and so fast. I freaked out, and I really did think that I still had the kickstand down, but I didn't. And so the bike started leaning over, and even though this is not like a real heavy bike, there's a certain point where it doesn't really matter, it's gonna go. So that's, you know, that's exactly what happened. The bike went over, and I was really confused and really embarrassed and really mad that I didn't get that on video. So now every time when I fill up with gas, I always leave my camera running, because you never know what's gonna happen. You just never friggin' know. I felt so terrible. I mean, I think it maybe barely scratched one of the levers or something. I told my buddy about it as soon as I brought the bike back, and he kind of chuckled about it. I think it actually happened like while we were sitting there. Like I went to start the bike to move it back to where it needed to be parked, and it did it again. Not as much, but I was like, see, I'm not crazy. It did it. It totally did it. It turns out, I guess I just overfilled it, and it was really hot that day, and it's a black tank or whatever, and it just pressurized, and yeah, that's just kind of what happened. So that was something. It was fine. The bike was fine. He really didn't even care, and I don't even know if you can see the scratches or whatever. I didn't, like, you know, just throw the bike over, but I kind of tried to hold on to it, but I just couldn't hold it up anymore, and you know, it was what it was. So that's a fun last story to kind of wrap up this ride. I'm gonna miss the bike, you know. I'm sad that my buddy's selling it, but I totally understand. It's just not a priority for him right now, and he'd rather have the cash in his pocket. You can get down with some cash in the pocket, you know. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys on the next one. Let's give it one final rip. Feel the power.